Also, like that you went for Bez's table rather than Bez.
Well,
I mean, like it's right, but yeah.
Kind of my table, and I'm basically just going to check on my Kickstarter to remind myself of the photo of my letters. Some of them need to be slightly tweaked, and so that's what I'm going to do today. Do you want to explain? Should we have a song for the start of it?
I think so.
I think Peter should sing.
You should sing.
Oh, I can't sing. I'm just going to sit here silently and drink my caffeinated beverage.
Peter's going to sing.
Peter's going to sing.
After you have had your drink.
Peter's going to sing.
Peter's going to sing.
I don't know what to sing. I'm under pressure.
Peter's going to sing.
Social anxiety kicking in hard. Yeah, no, I can't. I just can't even muster it. I'm sorry, guys.
That was mean.
Yeah, that was some hardcore peer pressure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I tried to muster something to do, and I just couldn't.
So going off of that, the next half hour is going to be painless. And if at any point you don't want to talk, all you have to do is revert to song.
I mean, yeah. Oh dear, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, see, that's the problem. You signed up to come onto a talk show with a person you don't know hosting it, so
yeah.
You should ask more questions.
Bez just ropes me into things. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that.
I mean, people will do incredible things for Bez, which makes sense. Bez is awesome, but they forget the little part of that sentence that says, you know, that I'm going to be the one doing the talking. So, yeah, welcome to watching Bez draw while we talk about stuff. And I kind of classify this as the intersection of board games and life. So we can talk about anything. It's not necessarily going to be about how you're part of ITB games, and it's not necessarily going to be about cool projects and things you've done.
But what would I talk about if it's not the company? Because my entire life is the business. Ah!
Well, actually, I pulled from your Twitter.
Oh God, here we go. Oh dear, my angry Twitter.
No, I'm keeping it very casual since I actually haven't ever talked to you before. Rose is going to get it a little harder since I do know her already.
Yeah, and Rose is angrier than me as well.
But I don't know you, and I was excited to get to know you, so I'm fangirling out a little bit here, so that's okay, right?
I think that's the first time that's ever happened, so I'm flattered.
All right. But you said your description of yourself on Twitter was...
Here we go.
And maps, systems, obnoxious tattoos, lazy vegan.
Yep.
And I feel like that's
pretty much it. Yeah.
A lot to jump off of.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Yeah.
So biscuits, I'm assuming you mean the British biscuits, so cookies.
Yeah, not scones. That obnoxious like corruption of biscuit that they have in the United States. You know, like I remember someone once. The first time I went to the US actually when I was 18, 19, and I got served biscuits and gravy without knowing that's what it was called, and I was like. I did literally just like assume that was like a normal thing to eat, so they gave me this plate of food, and I was like, "Why have I got a scone with like watery custard on it? Like this makes no sense. Like what is this?" Like when to eat it, and I was like, "This is the most bizarre thing I had ever experienced in my entire life." Firstly, the scone is savoury.
You thought it was going to be sweet, like you're bringing it to your mouth expecting dessert.
Well, like it looks like a British pudding, right? Because it's a stodgy like carbohydrate with like a hot liquid on it. Looks like a pudding, like. So I like bite into it, and I'm like, okay, this is like a savoury scone, but there's no cheese in it, so how could it be a savoury scone? That just doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, but what is this strange custard? And I'm like, it's just what the hell is it? And then someone told me it was a biscuit, and I was like, no. Yeah, it's somewhat of a culture shock.
It's also not vegan, but you're only a lazy vegan apparently, so that's okay.
True. I am a newcomer to the lazy vegan lifestyle. Admittedly, I've been kind of since probably the last let's say over the last 5 or 6 years, kind of transitioned from like pretty regular omnivorous diet to what I now kind of classify as lazy vegan, which is pretty much vegan for about 90% of the time, and then cheese gets thrown in occasionally, and sometimes I eat seafood because it's delicious.
But not meat, because according to your Twitter.
Yeah, oh yeah. If you eat meat, you have a small PB. Yeah.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
So.
It's true. It's true. Like, yeah.
I eat meat, but
Well, then in that case, you must have a small penis.
I actually don't even have one at all.
Well,
maybe
there we go.
It's
vanishingly small. You know, the case has been shown to be true in your particular set of circumstances. But yeah, no, I mean, I basically, for context, I had a partner a few years ago who made a very compelling case for not eating meat as a environmental thing, and basically showed me a bunch of graphs because, as you can probably tell from my Twitter bio, I like maths. They showed me basically the overall environmental impact of different foods. And they're like, okay, let's say you're eating a curry, right? And you choose what meat to go in the curry. It's like, you get scrolling through your Deliveroo or Just Eat app or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I fancy this place. I'm going to eat a Madras curry. And then it's like, do you want chicken, pork, beef, or shrimp?
Unfortunately, the table cam seems to keep coming off for some reason.
Oh, no.
No. It's what we're here to watch. We don't care what Peter's talking about meat.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about what I have to say.
Although it is kind of making me hungry.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, so basically it's like, okay, if you basically got a straight choice between a bunch of different proteins to put in your food, here's the environmental impact of each of those choices. And it's basically big bar is bad, small bar is good. And it was beef is the worst thing ever. And then pork is not great, but not far behind. And then chicken is significantly better than eating red meat, but still not great. And then seafood's not too bad. And then obviously if you're just eating tofu, it's basically very little impact compared with meat options. So I was this is a compelling case. So, okay. But then I was brought up on a slab of meat and boiled vegetables kind of diet growing up.
Oh, boiled vegetables. Boiled? Why, Brittany?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Oh,
don't
the blandest possible vegetable. But yeah, no, it's just it's kind of, it's just it's what I grew up on. So it took me quite a while to kind of transition away from it because I just didn't even know what to cook. I didn't even know what ingredients to get. So it took quite a long period of time to get me from basically a meal consisting of a slab of red meat and a selection of vegetables organized very discreetly to eating what I eat now, which is basically imagine what obnoxious hipsters eat and hamsters, and then just kind of put them together. Okay. Which is lots of nuts, seeds, grains, leaves, fruit.
So speaking of obnoxious, you just brought your arms into view when you said that, and your Twitter claims that your tattoos are obnoxious. So I want to know more about that. Show them a little more clearly. What's obnoxious about those?
I think I might be a bit pretentious. I think maybe I know I really am. Anyone who knows me is Peter's a bit. I decided to get a bunch of tattoos a couple of years ago. I think it was anyway, doesn't really matter. Decided to get this combination of ones. This is my left arm. Although, listen, I don't know whether it appears as my right arm on the screen or not, but this is actually my left arm. And it's basically, I think it's 44 different symbols, each of which means a particular thing. They're organized in a very specific pattern. The idea is that I can use it as a cipher code for a promotional thing to do with one of the games you made. If Rose is listening to this, she'll be rolling her eyes. But yeah,
she'll be on Twitter. I could ask her.
She's like, ugh. But yeah, but primarily it's it's a kind of combination of each the group into sets of 5, and each 5 has a particular theme, and each individual one has a very specific meaning and story behind it, and they're all organized in a very specific pattern, and all organized in kind of rings around my arm.
Wow.
But yeah, and some of them are unfinished for a very particular reason. So you can see there's like a triangle. Wait a minute, it's right there. It's just, literally just a triangle, but that's not finished. And then there's like
Was there a meeple, I think, and
oh yeah, there's meeple there. What else have we got? Board game related. There's a D20 there.
Makes you almost seem like a board game fan.
Got a Warhammer from my my Warhammer days. I say that like it was the past. I mean, literally on my desk is this guy. So
what did you say? 20,000 pounds of Warhammer investment or something? I think I read.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I spent a lot of time in my youth selling confectionery to my fellow students while at school, and made quite a business out of it. And
did you make the confectionery, or did you just buy it and resell it?
I just bought and sold. Stack of mine, sell them cheap. I just went for the multi-packs in the supermarket and then passed it off at just a little bit below the corner shop prices so that people always came to me. It was great. I had a racket with the teachers going on. The librarian was in on it. It was the best.
I did something similar, but even more sinister in school.
Drugs?
No, sweets. But we did like project weeks, and we had this when I was in the 4th grade. We had this 2-week period where we did East and West Berlin, and it happened to be exactly 1989. It happened to be exactly the 2 weeks where the Berlin Wall actually did fall while we were doing this project. But
maybe you made it happen. Maybe some kind of like butterfly effect, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and because of the time difference, we were actually live. Like, I was a 4th grader in the USA. Yeah. Live there when the Berlin Wall fell and everyone was doing the demonstration.
Oh shit! Yeah, because it would have been the evening.
They brought in the TVs and we pulled down the wall in our classroom and we celebrated. But for the whole time of that,
it's amazing.
I was in East Berlin in the classroom for the first week, and I smuggled in sweets because they were trying to like teach like 9-year-olds what it meant to have less freedoms and you know, try to get the whole. So we didn't get to go to recess and we didn't get to have desserts and we didn't get to have school bought lunch. There were just different things, and so I smuggled in candy bars and I sold, you know, the mega pack that you can get for like $1, and I sold each of the individual 32 candy bars for $1. And then I got caught by the Stasi, our teacher, put into jail behind her desk. Yeah. I crawled under her desk and popped up in West Berlin.
Oh, dear. So basically, this teacher inadvertently created a smuggling ring.
Well, I mean, yeah, and then because I spent the second half of that week in West Berlin, when the classroom switched sides, I ended up back in East Berlin, and I did it again. Made a lot of money. Nice. So you weren't quite as sinister with yours? You weren't like inverting capitalism into a communist society or something?
No, it was more just I seem to have a knack for, at the time at least, for just being like, well, no one else is doing this, so I'm going to do it. And then just over the course of about 2 or 3 years, worked out the optimal combination of products. So I first couple of years, I was like trying out do I want to go into fizzy drinks or crisps or nuts or what's the best set of snacks to go with. Oh dear, I think have we gone? Oh no.
I mean, you've got me. I've got myself on the computer so I can hear you, but yeah, the phone keeps messing up.
Oh no. Oh dear, I can't see Xate.
Oh yeah, Xate seems to have lost. This is a problem with.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me, Peter?
I can. I can hear you loud and clear, Baz. I can also hear myself.
I'm just turning that off. Oh.
Well, the internet clearly didn't want to hear the end of that story. Oh well.
I mean, can still go over it. I mean,
sure, I suppose.
Share what's going on with your tattoos and the make up the end of what's happened with the smuggling ring.
Yeah. Basically, I ended up doing a reasonable job over the course of a couple of years of finding the best combination of multi-pack sweets to take it to school that took up the least amount of space in my school bag, got the best, consistent sales, and so I ended up literally with 3 products. It was dairy milk with caramel, and Mars bars. For the non-British audience, dairy milk is literally just a regular chocolate bar. And then obviously caramel version of it, and Mars bars being the slightly more novel option. And then I just had a straight deal. It was chocolate bars for 40 pence, and which would be probably about 50-60 cents at the time. And you could buy 3 for £1. And that was it. Those were the only deals, the only things on offer at all. And I made an absolute killing. And I spent all that money in basically either Laser Quest, Games Workshop, or the own brand Blockbuster that was on my way home from school. That I used to stop in and get a bunch of X-Rental DVDs for £1 a go. So I ended up spending a colossal amount of money on Warhammer and going to Laser Quest and shit DVDs, which I had a lot of fun with.
Well, good afternoon, Andrew. January, it's to have you with us. And yeah, we're just basically rambling about all sorts of things, I guess, really.
Yeah, something like that.
Currently, StreamYard quit for Xate. Maybe Xate can jump back into the thing and I can let you in. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully.
And I'm just trying to draw new C's too, because I didn't like the old C. The old C you can see in this picture. I just felt like the top could have been a little bit more differentiated from the G.
Yeah, I like what you're doing with the new one you're drawing. Looks cool. It's definitely, you can see it's a lot sharper. Like you can tell the difference between the two characters a lot better. So that's really good. Just like
can you tell us? I mean, you've already told me the story, I'm sure, at some point, but a good story can be told multiple times.
Sure.
So could you tell us about how you started? Yeah, Statecraft.
Yeah, sure. So, like for those who kind of don't know, I started off doing board games with a friend at university, and we put that game on Kickstarter. That was a game about chemistry. So my friend was studying that at the time, and that did all right. That funded. We were really pleased with that. Wanted to make another one, and both of us really interested in politics. Always have been. Always will be. And because my sort of educational background, I suppose you would say, is in engineering, I've always been sort of fascinated by systems and how things kind of interact with each other. So I've been reading a lot about how different types of voting systems or different setups in different countries can have wildly different outcomes, even with the same population and the same views and the same policies available. So you can imagine a situation where, say, France and Germany had a very similar governing party with very similar policies. And let's say, for sake of argument, that those two countries had very similar views represented in their country, but a very small change in the rules as to how laws get made or how voting works or whatever can have radically different outcomes. So I was really interested in exploring that in a game. So it's the kind of thing where it's very complicated to get your head around, and it took me a very, very long time to kind of read all this information and really kind of understand it. So I wanted to kind of represent that in a way that you could interact with and kind of feel it for yourself, kind of feel how those things are different, so that it's less about teaching someone a thing and allowing someone to experience that system for themselves in a way that's much more accessible than, a 5-hour political debate or reading a really long article or something. And I was like, to do that, it's got to be fun. It's got to be engaging and entertaining.
Sure. Teaching things.
So say it again.
Yeah, teaching things via a game is I was just saying, teaching things via a game is a really cool way to.
Yeah, definitely. I think I kind of I got a little bit, but I can still just about hear you. Oh dear, it sounds like you're crunching biscuits. Oh dear, StreamYard's not having fun today, is it? Oh, so it's back. Oh, something's gonna happen. It's dramatic. What was that? Oh yeah, I'm still in my Statecraft.
Hey,
Hello.
sorry about that. I have no idea what happened. StreamYard kicked me out and wouldn't let me back in.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a pain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
So I missed all the rest of the cool conversation. So
we've moved on. We're at 3 topics ahead now.
oh man,
you guys got to be talking about Statecraft now.
that's not fair. I don't know anything about that. I was gonna try to go off of realizing that you had this incredible knack for getting the sweets to the people in your class and your librarians and everyone. How that has been turned into your future in the game world. Are you being able to use the same skills?
In a sense, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like so my parents ran like a small post office when I was younger, and like they had like most British post offices are like they have like a little shop attached to them basically, so it's like more like a kind of convenience store / post office. So like they would sell magazines, sweets, drinks, greetings cards, stationery, kind of general bits and bobs of things, lottery tickets, scratch cards, all that kind of stuff. And Pokemon cards, that's an important part. And I would kind of just because being around it all the time, like I knew when I was like 5 or 6 like what a sales rep was, because I'd meet a bunch of sales reps from like Coca-Cola and Cadbury's and Mars, and like these people would come in and like talk to my mum and dad about stock levels and like RRP and stuff like that like would be completely alien to you like at that age if you didn't have a parent or a family member who
still are pretty alien to me. I mean,
yeah, well, this is the thing. It's like I grew up around a lot of those things in a kind of a very like retail focused kind of environment,
right.
where I was kind of introduced to a lot of those things very, very early on. So it was easier for me to then learn the things beyond that to kind of use as building blocks. So like thinking about when I was like selling these sweets at school, like thinking about things like markups and margins and like like investing in capital and like stuff like that. Although I didn't have the language to describe what I was doing because I was like 12, like I kind of intuited those things because I'd seen them done by the adults around me. So like when I was like a bit older as a teenager, I started like tutoring people for money, selling painted Warhammer on eBay and doing all sorts of different things, and kind of using the same sort of lessons learned there, I guess. And it's kind of naturally progressed on from there. And I think Xate's it's frozen again. My conversation is so boring. It's frozen them. Oh dear. Well, at the very least, I'm sure viewers and or listeners can laugh at the fact this is going horribly wrong for me and delight in Bez's wonderful drawings. There we go. Back again.
Yeah, I don't know. I even plugged into Ethernet, but it still keeps kicking me out. So
so mean.
Yeah, I feel bullied. StreamYard, stop bullying me.
It feels like this particular stream is onto a lot more technical difficulties than.
Yeah, so it was fine the other day when we did it, wasn't it, Bez? Like, we didn't have any problems.
It's probably me. I'm a Mac user, and that generally
explains everything.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like tech doesn't like me. It knows I'm coming.
Yeah.
So I have a random question for you because I like to give you a little bit of something difficult.
Well, I have a random answer for you, and the answer is pineapple. So
that actually does make sense in this connection. I was going to ask, if your life was a game, what mechanism would be like the driving force of the game? So I guess pineapple does work.
I was literally just on Board Game Geek putting a new entry in for a game that I can't say what it is. I do have the handy list of mechanisms in front of me, so I'm gonna quickly look
and
through
tell us
them.
more about the secret game that you're not telling us about.
It involves space. That's all I'm gonna say. There's so many mechanics to choose from these days. I remember the days of having like 10 different options.
If you're feels like it's something to do with when I have the second camera up, like the phone.
That could be it, Bez.
This is weird. I'm trying to like neatly summarize my entire life into a basic interaction, and then.
What about just today instead of your entire life? What mechanism describes today for you?
Okay, yeah, that's probably an easier thing to answer. So today I've been doing a lot of very different things, but they've all involved talking to people.
Okay.
But all for very different reasons, and all in very like doing very different things in talking to people. It's almost like the difference between, you know, writing a letter and writing a love note, or writing a quick message, or writing a...
Oh, Peter, thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I love Bez. Bez is wonderful. Aren't you, Bez?
We're just going to assume Bez agrees.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unreasonable. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to kind of think, but like some kind of communication-based mechanic, some kind of like spoken thing. It's like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, yeah, that's really tricky, actually. I don't think I've ever been asked that.
It also sounds a little bit like a sandbox because you're doing so many very different things for very different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, because I mean, like, it's like my job, and kind of by design, and also just kind of like what I've done in all the stuff has always been very varied. I think I really get a kick out of like doing very, very different tasks and then flitting between them really quickly. It's like I always feel like everyone has like a kind of their key like work skill. It's like the abstract thing that they can do that other people find more challenging, or like don't have the energy for, but they do. Like some things, like for me, like certain tasks just feel like overwhelmingly tiring. And then other people I work with, it's just like it doesn't bother them at all. They just bash through it straight away. It's like that's their superpower.
That's super interesting about people too. Like the way like one person just like does something, and it's just like you kind of just like do it kind of without even thinking about it. You come out of it having more energy. You have fun doing it, and the next person's just like looking at you with these huge eyes. Like, how did you do that? That's so important. And you're just like, this?
I was thinking about like I think one of the most helpful things I've ever heard from someone is the whole like spoons analogy thing about like, and I was like, you can really apply that in a situation being like, for me, like changing between like having a really negative, intense conversation with someone about a problem and like talking about it, you know, very serious, very like emotionally loaded, and then immediately flitting over to like a very positive, informal chat. Doesn't cost me any spoons.
Right.
But for some people, it costs them a lot of spoons.
Yeah.
And then for me, some things cost a huge amount of spoons that don't cost someone else. So it's like almost like my job is like organizing who's doing what thing according to how many spoons it costs them. It's just like a big optimization challenge.
Yeah.
But kind of trying to understand the people as much as possible, which is I like lots of different things.
These days where I feel like I did nothing, and then I'm telling someone else about what I did that day, and they're like, "Oh my word, that would be a horrible day for me." I'm like, well, I basically didn't do anything. I just, did, and I'm listing up all these things that I just. But for me, it's just like, I didn't even have to like use any energy today. It's, and they're just like, whoa. So what is your thing that you find the easiest, and what is your thing that you find costs the most spoons that you have to do?
I love solving problems. But particularly like when someone has identified a problem that's very nebulous or like ill-defined, like I don't really know why it is I enjoy doing this kind of thing. Maybe it's because of like, I did engineering at university, so that's like kind of the way my brain was trained into it. It's just like take confusing thing and just kind of force it into a box, and then like it's like I can deal with it now.
That's very German.
Yeah, I'm engineering, but I've always like kind of like trying to do, like pin things down and like be like, right, how can we get this in a format that we can actually like do something with it, so, like solve a problem or make something work or like get something out of it or whatever. So like I get really energized when like someone comes to me with a problem and they're like, I don't know how to solve this, or this is overwhelmingly complicated. How do we go about it? And then like I really like the kind of bouncing off the person, like asking lots of questions, thinking really carefully about it, and like just kind of trying to like strip it back almost, and try and get that really convoluted, confusing thing down like onto also kind of mathematical blocks that can be interacted with in a simple way. Nice. So, like I say, I love systems. I like kind of making systems out of things, and I like understanding systems. The stuff that I find really challenging is like the pause isn't because I can't think of anything. It's because there's a long list.
Nah, we don't buy that. Peter can do anything.
I think probably it's like I find it really tricky to like when I've got a situation where I've got to actively communicate something that's negative that I know is going to result in a negative interaction. I get really like put off by that, so I tend to put those things off.
You're a peace lover.
Yeah, I like making people happy.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously, like when you run a company, you can't always do that.
Yeah.
And like, that's a challenge because, like, on the one hand, obviously, like actively trying to like build a really positive organization, and like, I love all my team to bits. They're absolutely fantastic people, and like, I do a lot for all of them. They're great. But it's like trying to balance that with like trying to be pragmatic and like having to be the bad guy sometimes. It's like really sucks. And like I'm getting better at like doing those things, but like, you know, having to like let people go is the most horrible thing to do as an employer. Like that I've found, and obviously it's like I'm not in the shit position there. Really, like I'm not the one who's being let go. It's obviously far worse to be in that position than it is for me. But I think like that, the fear of like having those conversations has like stopped me from like doing the thing that is most pragmatic a lot of the time. Because I find it really difficult to be negative. Like when I'm like not necessarily being negative, I'll whinge about all sorts, but like saying something like you did a bad thing.
Yeah.
I just really can't do it. I'm really bad at confrontation. So, and obviously that there are obviously loads of times when that happens, even really tiny times where it's like, that's a heap of shit. Like, and it's easier just to like, that's bad, do it again.
Yeah.
I don't want to handle things like that, but like it does happen.
So speaking of employees that you really, really like, welcome Rose.
That's not wrong. I do like Rose.
Well, I was going to go the other way, but I decided that was too mean.
So yeah, to be fair, it is in character. I do take the piss out of Rose all the time. So
yeah, I just feel like I shouldn't be the one. I figured I shouldn't be the one doing it.
Yeah, Rose is a complete dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, no.
I will own that, so it's fine.
It's true. I mean, Rose knows me very well. I know I'm a complete mess. So, you know.
Yeah.
She's seen me at my worst.
What? She was there when you were a 12-year-old exploiting other children?
Oh, no, that was me at my peak.
Okay.
That was peak Peter making.
No, I've seen Peter's worst is like a stack of monster cans larger than a human.
I've noticed the never-ending can in his hand.
Yeah, it's always there, and it's quite terrifying. I think the blood in his veins has been replaced by caffeine at this point.
He probably just played so many dungeon crawlers that he thinks he has to slay the monsters. Then he sees that package, he's like, it's a monster, I've got to take it out.
I just really like the taste of blue, you know?
This is incredibly annoying, but yeah, the table cam just keeps popping off.
That's a shame.
And we've had some suggestions from J Clugged 72.
All right.
It's an independent thing, but I'm not quite sure how that would work. I mean, potentially if there was a camera that would pop into the laptop, and then the camera could go here. That might be able to work.
Got a separate webcam
better. But
that's a bit of a pain.
Yeah, I'm going to maybe just tilt this so everyone can see stuff upside down at least.
Yeah,
let's all see what's going on.
You see the cards upside down half the time anyway, so that works.
Are all the letters going to be arrow themed?
Well, people like the arrows, so are you skedaddling, Peter?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to jump out and tag Rose in now. So I've got a meeting to go to now with one of the guys.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you, Peter.
Yeah, lovely to talk to you, and lovely to meet you properly as well.
Sorry for fangirling out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a strange experience. But now Rose can tell you all the horror stories, and you can don't say, oh, he's actually a weirdo. Right,
I noticed already, but don't tell him.
That's fine. Yeah. Anyway, don't go too hard, Rose, because remember, I have all the dirt on you too.
Yeah, no, it's good. I don't know. Hot take time. I want to talk about myself.
Yeah, really. I mean, we're done with Peter, right? He was here for half an hour.
But why would you want to talk about me, Rose? I'm wonderful.
You guys have heard enough.
I feel like we got the dirt.
I mean, it feels like if we just talk about Peter, like, while we are heroes, that's just feeding into Peter's ego.
Yeah. It's already pretty overinflated.
We have heard from him that it's pretty bad. So.
Yeah. Oh, such a god complex. Anyway, on that note, I will leave you all to it.
All right.
Bye.
All right, see you later, guys. Bye.
Hello. How's this stream been so far?
Weird. I'm having a lot of technical difficulties. I think Bez is too. So if you ever find yourself just alone, talk about something.
Okay, that's good to know. Hopefully I can keep it up. I was quite good at a game wearing you blether, so I'll try my best.
Do you want me to grab a card from a game wherein you and see what random topic you come up with?
Yeah, we can do that.
That sounds like an amazing thing to do at some point when we're not live. Thank you.
I think Xate might have other plans.
Either the present, beaches, or bagpipes.
Whoa, bagpipes. That's a good card.
What is this? What's happening now? You're gonna blether about bagpipes, or?
I think I'll leave it up to you as the host of the stream.
I want to. I don't know the rules to blether, to be honest. I've never gotten the chance to play that one, but I think you blethering about bagpipes. Maybe I think you should turn it into something board game related. So add a challenge, not knowing the actual rules of the game, I want you to blether about bagpipes as a board game mechanism, please.
Okay, so I am actually really keen on folk music. Like, I play a little bit of violin, so I've always felt like it's kind of an undercovered topic in gaming. I haven't seen very many games about folk music, so I think if I was making a game about that subject, it would be like quite a light game, because you can't really, folk songs are short and snappy, and nobody wants 3 hours of bagpipes. Let's be real. But I think it would be cool to have a game about writing like the best folk song, where you have to include stories of, folk songs are all about two things, and that is getting with people and dying, with a bit of hay thrown in there every now and then. So I feel like you'd be wanting to create the best epic of like falling in love and then dying. Does it include kilts? J. Clug says yes, it should definitely include kilts. So yeah, and you're creating this like epic, and then seasoning it with bagpipes and accordions and anything else that seems relevant at the appropriate time.
Now, how are the bagpipes the mechanism, though? Not just the component.
I wish I knew more about how bagpipes actually functioned. So there's definitely something to do with the like volume airflow that's traveling through the bag. So that kind of dictates like how many actions you can do at one time. So like how many notes you can do in a row. I feel like there would be something there, maybe. If anyone in the comments has ever played a bagpipe and wants to help, that would be very helpful.
On that timing, we have Aqua Sulis, the studied musician, joining us. Aqua,
Yeah.
bagpipes as a mechanism in a board game. How do you use it? Go. Just to put Alex on the spot a little bit.
Let me just bring up the Wikipedia for bagpipes so I can Wikipedia.
And Jeroen, I think it should definitely involve kilts, and I would like to see a picture of you wearing one, please.
Bagpipes.
Yeah, maintaining airflow. She had that. So she was thinking something about, how long you can play a note being how many actions you get, something along that line.
Yeah, like how much?
In our fictive board game about folk music that we're now inventing, I think we published by ITB Games. I was just chatting to Peter earlier, and he said he was putting something on Board Game Geek. This might be it. But that was set in space, so it's a bagpiping in space game, apparently.
Oh. I mean, you've heard the jokes about bagpipes and the fact that nobody wants to listen to the bagpipes. So bagpipes being in the vacuum of space might be the best possible outcome, really.
Aqua suggested it be called For Folk's Sake. I think we're coming up with a pretty good idea here.
Yeah, this sounds great. Yeah. And so I think in a bagpipe, you generally have like a drone note in the background. So you can't go, you have to try and vary the melody enough, but so that it stays interesting, but without adding too many times where you clash harshly with the drone note in the background. Maybe.
I kind of wish I could see Bez's face right now. So being honest and everything, having the whole bagpipe discussion going on.
Yeah.
I mean, my face is not particularly interesting. This is my face.
I don't know. I was laughing at us a little bit, at least. So, I went to your Twitter bio and grabbed information about you to share with the world. Peter was very scared when I said this about him.
Mine has been the same for a very long time. So, yeah.
It says, board games developed Office Hamster Paparazzi at ITB, Uni Challenger. So I have questions. Board games developer, we know about that part of your life. We've heard about that.
Yeah.
No questions. Office is relatively self-explanatory. But what exactly is a hamster paparazzi?
Well, so the office hamster, back in the long lost days where we all worked in offices, ITB has a long tradition of having an office hamster, starting with Peaches when I first joined, and since then we've been through Peaches, Oreo, Cookies, Cream, and now Karen.
Your hamsters are all named after things you like to eat, and yet your boss claims to be a lazy vegan.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, they're just such like Peaches peach colored, Oreo was Oreo colored, so it really made sense. But then we always joke that the hamster is head of HR, and Karen is a very head of HR name. So when we got the new one, that became, we were trying to find a serious name, but of course, as soon as you give something a silly name, it sticks and it's never going away. So. Right. Yeah, but she's currently living with Peter's mum in Cumbria while we're not in the office to take care of her.
Hamster relations, I like that. That's a good HR definition. Hamsters. Yeah. Okay, so we're actually literally taking pictures of hamsters. I was wondering if it was, like out of the perspective of the hamsters, so like looking up, or if you were just taking a lot of photos but not sharing them anywhere. You were just hamstering them. It's like, what is that hamster?
I follow the hamster around and take glamour shots of its day, like makeup-less pictures of it going to the shop, falling off the wheel, that kind of thing.
Are you one of those people who gets into the like little miniature cakes and the hamster sitting at the little table eating the little miniature cake, that kind of thing?
No, we did do a photo shoot once with King of Tokyo where I think it's Cream is like taking on each of the big monster standees and having a good look.
Oh.
But I'm not as advanced as Small Cake yet.
I mean,
that's something to do when we go back.
There are so many pictures that people have of their cats taking over their board gaming table. You see the cat in the box, you see the cat jumping on the cards and the bits. I mean, it does kind of get funnier if you're doing it just with hamsters. Maybe you could see how many meeples the hamster could fit in its pouches.
I think that might be hamster cruelty.
Yeah, they collect wood and straw and things like that in there to carry to their nest.
That's true.
I used to breed hamsters. I mean, it didn't start out as breeding. It started out with having one hamster and then 2 hamsters, and out of 2 hamsters, you get 20 hamsters. And
yeah.
But yeah. It's one of my little side jobs. I was talking with Peter earlier about side jobs that we had that were slightly questionable when we were in our early days. Did you have a slightly questionable childhood method of making money?
Okay, so I mean, I had some standard stuff like cat feeding, but I did have an incident. Well, when I was a kid, the primary method of making money that wasn't pocket money was in my village when couples got married in the church. It was a tradition that you tied the gates of the church so they can't leave until they throw money for all the children in the village.
Oh.
It's called a hoi out. So we effectively did extort money from people who'd come to our village to get married.
Did you come up with this tradition, or is this like a real thing?
No. That was well established when I got to the village. So where exactly the hoi out comes from, I don't know. I presume it's just a northern / close to Scotland thing, because I've not heard of anyone else doing it. But yeah, that was quite lucrative as a kid when weddings happened, you know. Someone else would come around and knock and be like, the hoi out's happening, the hoi out's happening.
Awesome. Alex said he has a friend whose hamster would do a handstand in each corner of the cage to more effectively mark their territory. Does your hamster do handstands? I have never. I don't know.
I have never seen a hamster do a handstand. That's a very impressive hamster.
I've seen it like up on the edge of the glass or something, like using that as support, but I've never seen it like freehanding. That would be impressive. I have a feeling aqua doesn't mean freehanding it, but but still, an interesting idea.
So apparently, a hoi out is a Geordie tradition, which makes sense because I grew up in a village near Durham. Yeah.
Okay. I have no idea what any of that means, but sure.
Newcastle.
It's on the island. Yeah. Okay. That's what I've seen that them shuffling like up the back of the cage with their hind legs or something.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss the hamster a lot.
Aw. Well,
yeah.
Maybe by the time you get back, there'll be more of them that you can name after desserts. I mean, there's still a lot of desserts to go.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with hamsters is they live such a short time. I would never have one myself because you can't be dealing with getting attached properly to a pet and then have them die every 2 years and repeat the cycle.
So if you, I asked Peter what game mechanic represents his life, but since we've done that one today, and we're now on to hamsters, what hamster behavior most represents your own behavior?
Frantically running on a wheel because I get very cooped up and then I just get really fidgety and I have to move around. I don't like sitting down for really long periods of time. So yeah, that would definitely be me. I'm like champing at the bit to get out during all lockdown. Yeah.
Are you able to get out? Are there things that you're able to do in your area?
Yeah, I mean, now it's pretty good, and obviously I can still go out for walks in the park and stuff, but it's nice to have a bit of variety, really. But yeah, I'm not stuck inside by any means, because I don't have anything that would make me vulnerable to COVID, so I feel free enough to go for a wander around.
Yeah, I actually found at the very beginning of the whole Corona thing, when they were just starting to lock us down and just starting to have restrictions, it actually caused me to go out more than I used to go out. Just because there wasn't anything you were going to. So I wasn't ever like just taking the tram to something or riding my bike to something. So I would just go on a walk, or if I wanted to meet people, especially at the beginning, you were allowed to walk with someone socially distanced. So just meeting up with people and just to see anyone at all, even if they're 1.5 meters, 2 meters away from me, to be able to have that conversation and just walk around in the shade of the park. Weather was perfect for it. And I ended up going on a walk with somebody almost every day. Whereas before I'd go on a walk like, I don't know. I didn't go on walks. Like if I needed to go to the store or something, but not normally. It's just then suddenly it's like, oh well, you can't see people, you can't go places, and suddenly I was like, hey, who wants to go with me to do a thing?
The only thing you're allowed. Because when I used to just get the walking and by the walking to and from the tube and the bus and whatever to get to work, and I had to substitute that with just many rounds of my small local park. Which I did enjoy, but I found like 2 or 3 parks near here that I didn't know were there because they were just not on the way to something. And then when I wasn't going someplace, I just kind of wandered. And then I was like, oh, well, this is actually a really nice area. Like, I didn't know that I lived in a nice area. like, okay. So some of those benefits. Yeah.
So, do you want a random question or a related to you question? Your pick.
Let's go with the related to me question, I guess.
Related to you question. Okay. How often do you play games in your private life? And has that changed since you started working in board games?
So, in terms of video games, I play video games like every single day. Most days anyway, because I really enjoy them as a way of winding down. Also, I get super obsessed with video games, so whatever I'm playing at the moment, like it's kind of ticking in the back of my head about playing it again later.
Are you doing that one that everyone's obsessed with now, where you're like a jelly bean running through like a bouncy castle?
Oh my gosh. So my girlfriend just got that and I'm going to buy it later today and it looks so good. I love the little jelly beans.
It looks ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Oh, so good. Because I watched like Total Wipeout and stuff like that on TV as a little kid. So I am so ready to do it myself in jelly bean form.
So ridiculous.
But yeah, in terms of board games, I never had that many friends who were super into board games. So obviously I live with Linda, who's the operations manager at ITB. We lived together first. She applied for a job later. But so we played together sometimes, and I used to live with more people who were super into board gaming. But generally, I play like it's been once a week or so max during my life. At the moment, it's a bit less. But during work hours, I play a lot for work, especially so I'll play in very like concentrated stints. When we're researching a new idea for a game, I'll play like 10 games in that genre and write them all up and that kind of thing. So then we'll play loads at work in a short month period or whatever.
Right.
But it really comes and goes.
What games were you playing to prepare for Cryptex?
So I played loads of Exit. Loads and loads of Exit games, most of them that were available at the time. I played some Unlocks. Exit and Unlock are great. I also played Deckscape, but I really don't like Deckscape. I think it's very basic, and the storylines don't make a whole lot of sense.
What publishes that one?
Let me just have a look.
Andrew, I don't know the name of that one. Sorry.
It is published by DV Ghiocchi, Italian publisher, I think.
Oh, Italian. Yep.
Yeah.
Are they the same people who did Out of Gears? Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I also played the Wilson Wolf Affair, which is like a huge, it's not so much like a board game, but it's a huge box of like 1930s animation themed stuff where you piece together the mystery. That was really, really cool and really formative in what I wanted Cryptex to be like, except that Wilson Wolf is £200. And Cryptex is like 25 or 30 or something. I can't remember exactly. But that kind of level of immersion and feeling of like you're dealing with real pieces, like real things, rather than, you know, puzzles on a card, I really wanted to go for. And then, you know, Xate for the efficiency and simplicity of its puzzles whilst remaining interesting and bringing new spins to format every time is something that I really love. Yeah.
Aqua is looking forward to Cryptics, and yes, Aqua, I think Fall Guys, that's the game we meant.
Yes, Fall Guys, that's the
and
one.
Jeroen has a rather questionable question for you, being, do you like to play like roll and write games or real board games? So I guess that would be, that's the questionable bit. Is a roll and write game not a real board game? But
I think that the bar for what is a real board game is low. Like, it's not like, well, I mean, I say low as if roll and write games are somehow like bad. They're not. In fact, in some ways, they're marvels of efficiency in terms of entertaining people with a very small rule set.
I feel like he means a more epic game that actually has a board in that context.
Yeah. I really like everything on the scale from Railroad Inc. up to Terraforming Mars or Sidereal Confluence. Love that game so much. Only played it once because it needs like 8 people for 2.5 hours. Yeah. But
2.5 hours
I really enjoy large games.
Well, it's no Mega Civilization.
Yeah. I haven't played the full game of. I haven't played Twilight Imperium. I haven't played Civ yet. Those blockbuster mega chonk games.
To be honest, I'm not interested in that either. I think I would be good at them because I have that kind of strategic mind. I just think, okay, if it's an 8 to 12 hour game, I would rather just play 4 other games in that time. They would also and I think big strategic games. I mean, you know, in the time I could play one version of that, I could play Trismegistus, Terraforming Mars, Teotihuacan, and Scythe, and I'd be much happier with that.
Yeah. I feel like on an average gaming day, I would to do that. But I really want to give Twilight Imperium a go just to see what, like, to make it more of an event day, isn't it? It's like the thing you do once in a while that's less about necessarily the board game itself.
But why stop at single? You could play 90 minutes games. Why not go all the way down to 30 minutes or 20-minute games?
Yeah. And I do feel a little bit of pressure to play Twilight Imperium and stuff just because there's so much like, oh, but you said you're a heavy strategic Euro, but you've never played like, oh, you say you're a real, like, oh yeah, no, you've never even tried, like, I'm just kind of like, I feel like I kind of have to at some point. It's just like,
I get that.
It's going to go one of two ways. Either I'm right, it's okay, I'm great, I'm fine at it, but I'd prefer other games. Yeah. And then it's like, well, I knew that going in, why'd I bother? Or I'm going to be wrong, I'm going to like it more than playing 4 other games, and I'm going to have a huge problem because I'm going to need to invest the time and the money and find people who are interested in doing this with me on a regular basis. So I feel like that's kind of a lose-lose.
Yeah, I feel like gatekeeping in general is quite lose-lose because it sets up situations where you feel like, on the one hand, you're pressured to play the thing and like the thing to prove that you belong, but on the other, there's the internal desire to kick back against that and be bloody-minded and be like, well, stuff you, I'm not going to play this game, I don't want to. And neither of those attitudes are helpful because they stop you from enjoying the game as it really is if you just give it a go at some point. But that's not your fault. It's just because other people are like, especially women, let's be real.
Is there a game for you that you didn't want to play for a long time, that you got a lot of pressure to play and then you caved and played? Do you have one of those games?
I feel like I've experienced that more in my life in general, maybe, than necessarily gaming. Let me have a think. Okay.
While you're thinking, I'll just say mine was Targi, actually. Everybody was so crazy about Targi, and it looked so boring. Then it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Why? Meh. And at some point, I just got it from the Ludothek because I needed to check out one more game, and I was on the time. I was just like, I need to grab something. I just turned around in a circle. There was Targi. I'm like, fine. Just grab Targi. We played it every Sunday since. Like, It's just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's why everyone's always talking about Targi. But I was so worried.
Yeah.
Because the hype was so high, and it's just like, and it looks so bad. It's just like, I don't know. And Jeroen says Pharma Pocket is one of the games that he recently got out of the wrapping and has time to test it now. So that's an interesting one. I'll be interested to hear what you think of it, Jeroen. Have you played it yet? And Javier has played TI4 once, and says glad they tried it, but won't be playing it again. Why? Yeah. What was the thing that makes you not want to play it again? Is it the length, or is there another reason that came into that? Interesting to hear.
So I guess personally, on a nerd level, less gaming, but more of a nerd things. I consider myself a nerd. I'm super into Star Trek particularly, but I really enjoy sci-fi in general. Maybe a bit of fantasy, but it's not super my thing. But I felt a lot of pressure to watch The Lord of the Rings. From Peter especially. If you're still watching, this is a call out.
Peter.
Yeah. But the thing is, I enjoyed watching The Lord of the Rings when we watched the first one, but just this sort of expectation that you must love it or you're not a real geek, you know? Yeah. And it's fine.
Okay, I've seen it.
Yeah.
There was a guy named Gandalf and some guy with furry feet. I mean, you know. And Aqua says they didn't think they'd like Keyflower because it seems like a really generic theme, but a friend wanted to try it, and actually he did really like it. And actually I had the exact same reaction to Keyflower. I have friends who they just brought it over one time, like, okay, because you brought it over, we will play this. But and it actually, I ended up having fun. I played it again. X is for Xate. I don't know what that's referring to, but sure.
Ooh, I really like the patterns in the background, especially the N and U one. It's really cool.
Yeah, those are looking really good, Bez. Oh, Bez was drawing the X. Yeah, I always feel like that's my card. I also like that it's the SX card for some reason. So Andrew January has played TI once, and definitely the length that stopped him from bothering again. Yeah, 60 to 90 minutes. I do feel like is I guess 60 to 90 is kind of the length I tend to go to, but I like up to 3-hour games. But more than 3, and I start getting antsy. Like if it's more than 3, and I'm playing with people I know well, I'll just after 2 hours be like, okay, coffee break or water break or whatever break, and just be like, we're all not playing for a few minutes, walk away from the table, because I don't want to be the only one walking away, because then they're getting that advantage of 5 minutes of strategic thinking that I'm not getting. Just find some reason why we're all leaving the table and then come back to it, and then it's fine. But thinking of an 8-hour game or something, and I mean, I have 8-hour game days every week. We just don't play one game, we play tons. So
I tend to find I haven't played a board game that went longer than I played Arkham Horror, the board game rather than the LCG, and that went for 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe. And I really enjoyed that. It was really good fun. But I tend to find that when I played RPG sessions that went on for 4 to 6 hours, my concentration is just flagging. And part of that is that you're not always as involved in an RPG if you're in a large group. You know, someone else is doing the talking, you're like, cool, I'll just chill out. You know, if you forget what's going on, you can end up just kind of chilling out at the back of the party, like, I've forgotten where we are, I'll just listen in, you know. But yeah, I feel like it doesn't bode very well for Twilight Imperium, because I don't think you can just drop out and chill for a bit around the 4-hour mark, really.
And Javier said their game took 11 hours, and even though they won, it didn't feel like that satisfactory of a thing. And I'm like, yeah,
oh wow,
that's exactly what I'm worried about. Is that? But yeah, Jeroen, why do you take smoke breaks? You don't smoke. I don't think. And if you do, stop that. And Alex, I don't know why you didn't like Castles of Burgundy. I do agree that people hype it a little bit too much. I also was kind of cautious about that one because it seems so overly hyped, but I did get to play it, the old version, even though the new version's come out. Someone brought over the old version a couple months ago, and we played it, and I did enjoy it. I did not enjoy it enough to necessarily want to buy it or necessarily suggest it if people are like coming for a game night and are up for that level of game. But I would play it again if someone else is like, oh, I really want to play it. I thought it was okay, you know. But I think a lot of the games, it's kind of like, when do you get into playing them, and when like there's a curve. If you get in at the start and nobody really knows how the best strategy works, or nobody knows how to do everything by heart, and you're all kind of learning the game together, I feel like it's a lot easier to get into and enjoy those type of games than if you're getting in, 5 or 10 years later when everyone else already knows the game really well. They know the best way to play the game. They've been hyping it for years, and then you come in and you're expecting this mega awesome game, but you have no clue what you're doing, and everyone else does, because that kind of just takes it a little bit down for me. The decisions didn't really have much impact. Yeah, sometimes. I guess it depends a little bit. I've only played it once. Maybe with repeat plays, I wouldn't like it as much, or I would like it more. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. I was just looking through my collection to try and work out if there's anything that like I felt like I really had to play and had a lot of pressure to play. But I think, to be honest, a lot of the big name ones I just seen around a lot. Like, this is certainly if I play a lot of light games and I haven't played a heavy game lately, then I start to feel like I'm not properly engaging with the board game world,
Have you played Gloomhaven?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
I really like Gloomhaven. But the good thing about Gloomhaven is that a lot of it is in fairly bite-sized chunks. I mean, bite sizes in it takes you an hour and a half, but then you put it away and you can start the next campaign another time, It's not like you play it through in one go. But yes, I have played Gloomhaven, and that was one I was really itching to play. Have you played Gloomhaven?
Nope. And it doesn't really interest me, to be honest, except for the fact that it's #1, and I feel that pressure of like, but it's #1.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's, as far as I know, like, I don't know anyone who owns it who's in my circle of people that I play with. And then, there's the whole language thing. The language thing, and then so it's just kind of like, well, I mean, I guess if somebody I knew had it and I could play, but then it's like, well, do you join in to play a round of Gloomhaven? I mean,
yeah.
So you're signing up for the whole thing. Why not? I mean, isn't it like campaign style that you have to play kind of through the whole thing?
So I think you can play and enjoy just one session. It's very possible, but it is a very complicated. Everyone I know who's like played it, or I've seen talk about playing it, got some rules wrong the first time they played it, because the combat system is quite complicated, and it's interesting on its own enough that I would say like playing individual scenarios is fun. But there's no doubt that like a lot of the reason why it's at #1 is because of how cool and interesting the overarching system is. Like I remember, I think it's Shut Up and Sit Down mentioned that it achieves a kind of semi-co-op feel naturally because you're chasing money and XP a little bit just for your own gain, as well as so that you'll be better further on in the campaign, whilst balancing it against working together in the particular scenario that you're in at that moment. And if you aren't working towards the larger campaign, that element is kind of lost because you're just going to work together.
So Jeroen says that he owns it. So Jeroen, I'm just taking that as an invite to come play with you sometime. Right?
Give it a go.
It's kind of a far way to go for just one game, but I mean, if we're playing the entire Gloomhaven campaign together, I'll come by.
Yeah.
I got a yes. You saw it here, folks.
It has been confirmed. You have no excuse now. I expect you play Gloomhaven within the next year, or your Game Pass will be revoked.
We got a time limit. It sounds like I'm going to come visit you within the next year and stay for a couple of months, apparently. Just, I mean, to be fair, I was planning on visiting the Netherlands within the next year anyway, so that works well.
Yeah.
Liz, have you finished your letters for today with the X the last one? It's looking pretty good.
I'm not sure if I'm happy with this X, but I guess I've done some stuff. So I started off with the C, which, like, this one had a little kind of draggy bit, don't know how to, a pointy bit at the end. And I was like, maybe that's, yeah, also I made them smaller because I was like, why am I drawing it so big? The thing is, I couldn't find my pad today, so I just thought I'd use it on A4 paper. But then I got tempted to make it way bigger than it should have been given the size of the markers that I'm using. But I feel like I'm onto the correct vague shape, but I'm still not 100% happy with it. The L's seem to be a little... Oh, thank you, Alan. He says, the large C is sweet. The L's are a little bit less pointy than the old L, because the old L people were saying was more like a tick. And so, it's kind of more straight across. But I kind of like a little bit of an angle, but yeah, I'm still trying to work out. I don't know what you think of this one.
I like the one that's fatter on the top part better than the thinner one.
You mean this one?
Yeah.
And I emptied it from this side.
Yeah, it kind of feels more like...
I feel like L's are a little bit more angled, have a bit of a more dynamic feel, which may or may not be right for the game, but is certainly cool.
Someone said they'd love to see the J. That is the J which is there. So that's all stuff that I drew previously.
Jeroen trying to remind us that his name is Jeroen.
An obtuse angle. I mean, it depends from which side you're measuring
I
the
don't
angle.
know. I think cutie.
Yeah, people wanted the O to be a little bit more round than the old one, which I get because it looks a bit more like an O, but it kind of just looks like a wheel, and then not sure I'm happy with
Looks like a donut, Bez. Maybe I really am just hungry. Peter started talking about food, and since then... All right.
This Q is kind of not really in keeping with the rest of the style, but like this one kind of worked. I mean, maybe the old Q was actually better.
There it is. Oh, yeah. I like the old one or the second one you did today. The first one's not,
And then the X's, I kind of was thinking about just having a bit of keeping. If I'm using arrows, I should use them everywhere.
I like that X. Xate approves.
Xate approves with the second X.
Yeah.
Excellent. I am happy to hear.
Excellent.
All right. I should get going soon, by the way, because I've got more work to do. Actual work.
What? No. Your boss ran over, so you get to too.
Yeah.
But you haven't even told us any of the dirt on him yet. We'll have to have you back sometime for a feeding Peter's ego. No.
Yeah, talking about. Oh.
It was really fun to meet him and to get to see you again. So
yeah, it's really fun. Thank you for having me on. And yeah. See you later, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it's a shame about all the constant technical difficulties. I wish this camera would kind of stay on. I don't know if it's because, maybe if I do something with removing all my cookies or something. Because back before I kind of logged in as a person, as myself in here, it was kind of working better. And I know Jay Clugged talked about having an external thing.
Jeroen knows something more than we do about it and said he can help out later.
Who?
His name's Jeroen.
Jeroen.
Jeroen. He's from the Netherlands.
Is that how you say it? Jeroen?
No, but I'm probably saying it wrong too.
Okay.
Jeroen. So he keeps trying to tell people his first name, but nobody ever does. And all the chats, everyone's always calling him Jay Clugt, and he's always saying his name a million times over and over and over again, like, call me by my name! I get a great laugh out of that because it's just not working.
Okay. Jeroen? Is it Jeroen? Jeroen.
The laptop flipping between Bez and drawing and no
I'm
bright
apparently
lights.
saying it correctly. Jeroen. Jeroen.
Jeroen?
There you go. Yeah, I mean,
He's a very sweet guy, and he knows a lot about a lot of stuff. So I can connect you guys on Facebook or something later if you want.
oh, but yeah, it was nice to have the talk along. Feel like, yeah, got a couple of shapes done. It feels like the X is closer than it was before, and the C is marginally better than it was before. There's a lot of work to be done for sure. Remember, of course, that this is just still all very early artwork. It's going to be in full glorious color at the end of it.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to see how much goes into the design of the letters, because if you just get the deck and look at them, you're like, oh yeah, somebody just drew some letters. But then to see you actually like going through the process of like these 2 to 4 shapes are very similar to each other, but they're not exactly the same, and which one works better, which one conveys what I want to convey, which one has the stylistic elements, and to see that going over and over again until the shape is perfect, till the coloring and the shading and all the different things that go into it. It's interesting to see just from like an outsider perspective.
The other thing I'm trying to work out is the tilting, because so what I'm currently thinking is that the top letters, well, I'm definitely thinking that the top letters will tilt one way, whilst the bottom letters tilt the other way, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
So if I make myself big, it kind of separates them out a little bit more. I can't actually find one of the cards perfectly, but if you sort of look at the EP, for example, oh no, that's exactly the opposite of what I mean. The TM, for example, like the TM's kind of sloping off to the left and the M's sloping down to the right a wee bit. And I need to decide, is it going to be the top one to the left, or is it going to be the bottom one to the left, and vice versa, because having them tilted slightly different ways, it reinforces the idea that, hey, it's not RH for rhino or ND for and, it's one or the other. They are 2 separate letters.
Yeah, that works conceptually very well.
Yeah, but if people do have technical suggestions, feel free to share. Thank you, Xate, for suggesting this thing and for doing a wee bits of being the instigator, the twisted instigator.
It's part of my secret plan to take over the world. Step 1, come on Bez's stream. Step 2, the rest of the world will follow.
It's like the underwear gnomes. Do you know them?
No, but that sounds interesting. What's an underwear?
Basically, there's a South Park episode all about these gnomes who just steal underwear, and it's step 1, steal underwear. Step 2, question mark, question mark, question mark. Step 3, profit.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. I guess I'm in underwear.
I think it's something like step 1, get the underwear. Step 2, hoard the underwear. Yeah. Step 3.
Yeah, Ron, TMI. Also, send pics.
Oh, thank you, the peeps. Yeah, I am probably going to head off and have my lunch. I am excited to tell you that I did do a wee bit of workout and a shower since you last saw me, Xate. Although I am already sweaty and gross again. But again, to Moby's flower, I managed to do 2 minutes of the sit-ups. It's quite chuffed.
Okay.
And then 1 minute of the push-ups. It was only 40 seconds of the push-ups, but the whole song for the leg raises. And the song culminates in this glorious crescendo. And if you're today part of me was feeling, why isn't this song shorter? And I was like, well, if it was shorter, I wouldn't be getting as good at workouts. And then part of me was feeling, oh man, what's this song all about? Bring Sally up, bring Sally down. What's all this about anyway? I mean, I don't know what Moby's on about. And all of Moby's songs, frankly, the lyrics are quite difficult to work out exactly. But
Jeroen also did a lot of workout stuff today, standing up from their chair. I mean, it's only been an hour since we saw each other. I saw you, at least, and you read me before we started this stream, so I didn't do very much in that time. Especially since during your morning stream, I did all my not all my housework, but all the housework I plan on actually doing today because it's too hot. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, this room, I feel like this room is particularly hot during the days. Because of the way the sun faces, and yeah, it's on the ground floor, so I can't really do too much with the. If I open the blinds, everyone sees me, and but that's just the way. No one wants to hear about all my personal things. So, shall we wrap up, Xate?
Sure.
Should we? I mean, when at this point, like, I'm doing literally 3 streams today.
Like, what are you looking forward to again? And every stream you just say it's the next stream that you're looking forward to?
It can't just be the next stream. I'm looking forward to having lunch. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Then I am looking forward to Saturday morning. I am getting to. It's my birthday Saturday, and I'm going to the lake with a friend of mine, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, and congratulations! Well done, Andrew, for getting a bit of workout. If you want to follow me, I am on Stuff by Bez. Well, all those links at the bottom. Should I read them all out, Xate?
Stuff by Bez everywhere.
No. It's stuffbybez.bigcartel.com where you can buy my stuff. Twitter.com/stuffbybez where I post a lot. And I've got lots of photos I should share. Instagram.com/stuffbybez, I share stuff when I can. Twitch.tv/stuffbybez is the best place to watch these streams. Facebook.com/thingsbybez or stuffbybez@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And yeah, share, spread the word. The next stream is going to be tonight at 8 p.m. Planning to play 5mil and possibly another LDEC game, which is kind of like 3 wise monkeys. One person's muted, one person's can't hear anything, one person turns their screen away so they can't see anything. And we try to pass cards around and try to give letters to other people. So you will see what happens with that, although that seems like it's not going to be something that chat can join in very easily. But hopefully it will be fun to watch.
And technically I'm all over the internet as Will Cook for board games, except you only ever see me on Stuff by Bez on Twitch.
And bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching
drawing along.
Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.
Oh.